Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining today's webinar. My name is Jamie Stewart. I'm the marketing manager here for 888 VoIP, and I will be moderating today's session. So before we get started, we have just a few housekeeping items I wanted to go over with you. First thing is anyone who attends today and stays for the entire session will be entered to win a $250 Best Buy gift card, and we will notify the winner via email. So if you are lucky enough to get chosen, then just keep your eye out for that email. Secondly, if you have any questions or comments during any portion of the webinar, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A box or the chat window, and I will be sure to get them answered for you either during the session or at the very end. And lastly, this session is being recorded, and we will be sure to send out the recording via email, possibly tomorrow or early next week, Monday, Tuesday, so that you can have a copy of the recording. So let's go ahead and get the session started.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie, for the intro. So I am Joe LaBella. I'm the director of our advanced solutions here on the 888 VoIP side. And alongside me for some of these slides is going to be my colleague, Vinny Tagliarino. Vinny and I have been working together for close to 10 years at this point. So very happy to have him join on this webinar. We're excited to do this as well. It's one of our first webinars where we're really kind of offering everything that we carry, not just specific types of brands. So looking forward to speaking with you guys more. Real quick overview for those of you who may or may not have ever worked with us before. We're a hardware value-added distributor. We've been working with a lot of different industry-leading technologies such as voice over IP, networking, collaboration solutions. What we offer to partners is more than just wholesale pricing and efficient shipping, along with availability on price. We want to make sure to be a value add for support as well, which we'll get into a little bit more. Some of the sectors that we work in and provide on top of fulfillment solutions, we also offer hardware provisioning, different software solutions to complete bundles or different types of environments that your team is going to be looking at and customers are going to be calling about. We do have fulfillment services. We've got warehousing in 2 different locations, one in Buffalo, New York, the other in Reno, Nevada. And then lastly, we also have an advanced API that some partners have taken advantage of to integrate our systems within their own. Technical support, marketing support. We also have some very quick turnaround times, based on different times of day that orders are submitted. We try to ship same day for everything we have in stock, just to keep your projects on par and keep everything on task. And then additionally, like I mentioned, wholesale pricing, financing has been asked and requested a lot more lately. So we've got a lot more than just physical product and services to offer. So feel free to call us at any time if there's anything else you'd like us to look into. So we'll get right into some of the main focus here for this webinar, which is to go over some of the different architecture for the video bars, some of the physics behind it, and some of the optical aspects that these products can offer to your team and also your clients. I'll move to Vinny here on this slide.
Yeah, so the meeting bars that we're going to be talking about all have system on chip. And I know that diagram may look a little bit confusing, but basically within the meeting bars, it's basically everything is going to be contained. The CPU, NPU, GPU, DSP, all of it in one. Most of these meeting bar solutions have basically 2 components. They'll have a touch panel, and then they will have a meeting bar along with it. Next one, so all the video bars are AI driven. NPU is kind of one of the more important parts, as it kind of allows for various tracking functionality like auto framing, speaker tracking, presenter tracking, and telefocus. The video bars are also all going to be Android certified, excuse me, and for Windows, they are certified for MDEPS, the Microsoft Device Ecosystem Platform. And then they have up to 133 degrees field of focus. Again, all of these bars are AM-based cores. The APU is based, or I'm sorry, the NPU is pretty much what runs the local AI for the video tracking, presenter tracking, and also as well as the sound quality. And all these video bars again are going to have 8, excuse me, mics, and the pickup range is about 6 meters with about 20 or so decibel with noise reduction. Again, these are all AI driven. The speaker tracking does work very well. If you're not into speaker tracking, there is all the, like I said, other forms of tracking like auto framing, pretender tracking, and you can also always just leave it in manual mode.
Awesome. Thank you, Vin, for diving into a little bit more on the back end there. So kind of summarizing what every little detail that Vinny had just mentioned, all of these devices that you see here offer that chip. They offer those CPU, NPUs, and the AI-driven aspects. Some of you may be familiar with these devices. They all vary, based on room sizes or different types of budgets. So feel free to obviously, use these as a reference, but we'd be happy to jump in and just kind of clarify and confirm some of the questions that might pop up for different projects that you're working on. Our most popular item from the Yealink line, as far as the Android bars go, is definitely going to be the A40. Fits a lot of different variety of room sizes, a lot of common room sizes for your deployments. But because it's got an all-in-one solution, including cabling, mounting, and any kind of diagrams, either we can provide or are provided on the websites from the support side on the Yealink team website there, you'll see a lot of different areas within client sites that the A40 can fit very well. Moving on to the Poly brand as well, they also offer a variety of collaboration bars, ranging from personal use like the R30 all the way up to large rooms on the V72. These Poly Studio bars have become requested, more often because it feels like collaboration, all-in-one solutions tend to become a little bit more of a requested item. Some of the X70 architecture, kind of highlighted here with a quick little zoom in of their dual lens, offers a lot of different technologies. It offers a few different AI camera logic options built in. All of these devices are able to have the settings and menus kind of switch between the different types of features as well. So, a lot of these easy click to change and quick optimized devices can really let your client have a lot of freedom too with the different types of conference spaces and the different types of conference calls that they're going to be having. I'll move to Vinny for this next slide.
So all of the newer bars that we're going to be talking about today are going to be under 40 milliseconds with latency. Anytime you're dealing with video calls, you want to be under 50 milliseconds for ideal quality. Anything above that, you're going to run into lag, which is going to cause a lot of frustration for your customers. Please note the local infrastructure of your network can affect this, but in ideal conditions, you're looking at about 40 milliseconds in latency, which usually provides for very good video conferencing quality.
Awesome. And then from, a quick technical deployment workflow, like I mentioned, me and Vinny, either together or individually, may have spoken with a lot of you before. But one thing we like to do is just make sure that we go over some questions that may or may not enter, the conversation when you're speaking with your client. But little things to think about when it comes to a new conference space or even an existing one. You want to take a look at the different room acoustics, obviously locations that are maybe more glass walls or a lot of windows may cause different kinds of sound reverberation. Steel beams and open concepts or larger roofs and ceilings where sound may carry a little bit. All of that's going to factor into the types of devices that you're going to want to recommend and suggest. Different locations on where to mount. Everyone's got different setups or clients have different requirements. So that's going to be key in figuring out which bar or which solution may fit the best for those rooms. You'll want to take a look at the different types of networking ports or any kind of table inserts that may allow for connections. A lot of wireless request is definitely something that pops up a lot, but unfortunately, not a lot of devices on the market truly offer wireless connectivity with reliable quality. So what we find is a lot of hardwire connection tends to be a lot more trusted. So you'll want to take a look at what existing ports and connections are already in place on the client site. And then lastly, just kind of confirming and validating the different kinds of field of view options, asking the questions on what's the most important spot within a room, or just because you've got a 50-foot space, but maybe the table is within 20 feet of the display, are we really going to outfit the entire room, or are we looking to just cover what the table is going to be within the field of view for that call? So these are, again, small, just examples of things you may want to encounter, and it may factor into the decision making and the design build for the different bill of materials for your clients.
Now, all of these bars are going to be certified for Microsoft Teams rooms, Zoom rooms, and BYOD. With the Teams rooms or Zoom rooms, you will need either a Teams room or a Zoom room license. BYOD is kind of what it is, bring your own device. That is where you would just kind of set the bar in quote unquote general mode, and then you would connect it to your computer, usually by a USB-C connection, and then your computer would basically be driving the meeting. So if you on your personal computer, if you had Zoom, Teams, Google Meet, WebEx, whatever platform you have, that would then be running using the equipment of the meeting bar. One thing to note, when you're going through the initial setup of these meeting bars, you set the, the date, the time, you set the admin password, all that stuff. And then usually the very last question is going to be, please choose your UC provider. And then that's where you would choose either Zoom, Teams, or general mode. And if you ever wanted to change that in the future, all you would need to do is just factory reset the meeting bar, go through that initial setup again. And again, it's going to ask you that last question. Do you want to set it for Teams rooms, Zoom rooms, or general mode? And so like we were talking about, these are all going to be certified for Microsoft Teams rooms, Zoom rooms, and then it also has the BYOD or device mode functionality. The touch pen, all these are going to come with a meeting bar, which that's going to be your camera, speaker, and microphone all in one. And then they all come with an attached touch panel for easy control to start meetings, end meetings, and do things like that. That's also where the integrated calendar is going to be, whether you're using a Teams room or Zoom room. BYOD, unfortunately, does not have an integrated calendar because your computer's kind of driving it at that point. And then if you're using a Teams room or Zoom rooms, you do have a lot of remote monitoring and management functionality through the Teams Admin Center or the Zoom Admin Portal. One important thing to point out, if you are using Zoom rooms, you're definitely going to want to keep your Zoom room up to date. Zoom has a quarterly lifecycle policy where if you're not on a certain minimum level of the Zoom room app, you're going to come in and on the display you've got connected to the meeting bar, it's going to say something like, could not connect to Zoom rooms, please contact IT for assistance. If you ever see that error, that pretty much just means that you need to update your Zoom room app. One of the other nice things, if you're going with a Teams room or Zoom rooms, both platforms have the direct guest join ability. So within the Teams Admin Center or within the Zoom Admin Portal, you can enable direct guest join. So let's say you have your meeting bar set for a Teams room and you wanted to do a Zoom meeting. You could enable that in the Teams Admin Center, which will then put essentially a Teams button on the touch panel. So then you can join a Teams meeting from the Zoom room set Android bar, and vice versa. And same thing with Zoom rooms. Zoom rooms has the same kind of thing. In the Zoom Admin Portal, you just have to enable direct guest join. And it's basically for just about all platforms, the major ones. It's so if you have a Zoom room, you'd be able to enable Teams, Google Meet, WebEx, which again was going to put a little icon right on the touch panel that you can join one of those meetings from your Zoom room.
Awesome. Thanks again, Vin, for that. So real quick here, kind of touching upon what Vinny had just kind of detailed. So the different pillars of room bridging that we want to bring up. Teams rooms, Zoom appliances, and then BYOD capabilities, all of which will give you flexibility. To a degree, almost all the platform certified devices like Teams and Zoom have an element of BYOD, but really sometimes it comes down to price, licensing, and just overall flexibility. So if you have clients that are strictly wanting to standardize on certified platforms, Teams and Zoom we see a lot. Those tend to be more popular with a lot of the big brands and names in the channel, but having a dedicated BYOD setup also offers flexibility to have anybody at any time walk in, launch any kind of soft client that they'd like, and then take over the hardware that's in the room. So there's definitely a lot of pros and cons to that. As we touched upon in that survey, and we're seeing this a lot here from the year over year kind of transitions with different rooms, seeing a lot of Windows-based deployments. Android is definitely number two, but Teams tends to be the more popular one at the moment. Zoom coming in just underneath the Android-based operating system for deployment, and then you've got your BYOD elements. But for me, what I hear a lot is folks that want to use that want to use Windows for their operating system tend to put some of their proprietary security software on there as well. So that gives them a level of management that maybe Android doesn't. Android offers a little bit more of an open source, kind of feel, but you definitely have, the same reliability and support for any operating system that you decide to go with. So again, pros and cons of some of the certified devices. Obviously, from an experience perspective, it makes life a lot easier to have a single join button. You've got, your AI features, transcriptions, things like that are built into the software. One of the negatives is you're locked into one platform. Sometimes, bringing in maybe a third party vendor, or if you need to add a accessory device, you may experience a little bit of a learning curve compared to a single button join for the user experience perspective. From an IT and management side of things, having a centralized remote management and security aspect is definitely a huge benefit. A negative, obviously, would be that those managements tend to come with reoccurring licensing, which again is something to think about when you're putting together your quotes for the different client sites. There are a lot of times when people forget about the annual or monthly licensing fees, and that can really change your budget overall when it comes to supplying quotes to clients. From a hardware perspective, you do have a more optimized audio-visual experience, lower level of fail rate for your DIY setups because, a certified space, the physical hardware install is the same, but you're really going to rely on some of your software when it comes to those setups when you're using a certified device itself. And again, one of the negatives is going to be maybe some of the higher end upfront costs compared to a strictly BYOD device, because you've got other levels of operating system built in and just an overall higher cost because you've got more certified aspects that require different levels of technology upgrades. And then lastly, support. Obviously, the 888 VoIP team is always here to support you, regardless of certified platform or a standard BYOD or BYOM deployment. But one thing to note is you also have the platform to lean on if you ever have questions with a certified setup. Whereas a negative, to that support, you may have an issue with some of the early end of life software requirements that change. So a BYOD setup, you may be able to keep in a space a little bit longer because you don't have to worry about some of the certification changes that maybe the hardware you had deployed a couple of years ago to your client site is updating now. You reach a limit on firmware upgrades too. So that is one negative to keep in mind when it comes to certified devices. You may have a higher rate of turnover as far as swapping out the equipment. But again, all of these pros and cons, definitely are case by case with end users and kind of the focus that your team has internally. Next couple slides are just going to go over just a little overview as far as the brands we carry with all the different types of certified devices. So for teams, you'll see on the top, the Yealink brand offers room schedulers on the outside of your conference spaces, voice certified Teams deployed products for phones. And then you also have full collaboration devices running Android or Windows for their video conferencing platform. The same could be said for Poly. They offer collaboration space devices, all-in-one solutions running Android or Windows. They are also one of the few certified voice provider hardware elements that you could add for different voice deployments for Teams. But then they also offer codecs that can really transform a conference room into a more robust solution. A lot of similarities here you'll see on the Zoom certified side as well, but really just highlighting that because you've got Teams and Zoom as flexible certified options, you don't necessarily have to force your team into learning just one platform. You can be flexible with different end user requests or maybe comfort levels for different platforms that are out there. And then lastly, just a quick example here of a brand that we carry that offers some BYOD-only solutions. There are some manufacturers that are not certified on some of the larger channel setups that you've seen, but it doesn't mean that their products can't offer a high quality solution. So you'll see here that some of the brands that we carry, again, they may not say certification, but they'll definitely give you a nice solution for the different environments that you're walking into.
So now a lot of this stuff is, we would recommend you guys give us a call. We can go over your room layout, number of people you're going to have in the room, how many cameras you need in the room, placement of the room, things like that. We can also kind of help you If you need to configure a Teams room account or a Zoom room account, kind of the important things with Teams room account, it does need to be a resource account when creating it. Zoom room account, it's not so much. You just have to assign the Zoom room license to that. As far as provisioning, everything is already going to come pre-provisioned. And like I was saying earlier, you have the choice to select what platform you want to use. When you're first setting it up, like I said, at the very last question, it's going to ask you to choose Teams room, Zoom room, or device mode. And again, if you wanted to switch that, you just needed to factory reset the device and go through that setup again. Um, as far as wires and connections go, they're pretty much just going to have one or two HDMI monitors that would connect directly to the meeting bar. The touch panel can usually be connected in two separate ways. You can either connect the touch panel directly to the meeting bar itself, or if you don't have close proximity to where you want to place the touch panel versus the meeting bar, they would just need to be connected on the same network. Kind of that most people like to do the direct connection with the touch panel to the meeting bar. It just makes it a little bit easier as far as setting up. One of the advantages is that you can only have to sign in one device when you have the touch panel connected directly to the meeting bar. If you have them separately connected, not really that big of a deal. You would just have to sign into both devices using either the same Teams room account or the same Zoom room account. But again, like I said, we can help you with the install, the testing, run into any issues. We've got great relationships with the manufacturers that we talk to on a daily basis. So if you ever had any questions or things like that, definitely reach out to Joe or myself. We'd be more than happy to help you with install, setup, testing, any and all of it.
All right, so hopping over to different sized rooms, different budgets, from huddle spaces to extra large rooms. Like I mentioned, there's a variety of different types of products that can really enhance the different levels of room that you're walking into. So again, we are more than happy to jump in anywhere to offer our recommendations. I believe both Yealink and Poly, I know Yealink does, but they offer room design configurations too. So you do have that option. Those are services that are offered by the manufacturers on their websites directly. But if you want to go through that with us while we're on the call or provide us any design suggestions that were sent, we'd be happy to confirm that everything, kind of looks like it would fit and makes it as efficient as possible for your client. Some, again, physical considerations when you're looking at different rooms to keep in mind outside of, some of the assessments we were talking about earlier. Room size obviously goes without saying. You want to make sure that you're not undersized or oversized when it comes to that space. You're going to want to ask questions about how important it is to cover the entirety of the room, or is your client looking to focus on particular areas for those rooms? That also falls under the camera height and the mounting options. So you've got versatility based on where the display is sitting. That's going to be your first focal point, is just making sure the display is in the right spot. And if that's going to be the preference, do you want to go above the display, to the side, underneath, on a table? There's a lot of different mounting options too, even if they're third party. Those mounts are definitely going to be important just to give your client a little bit more comfort on how their presentations and conference calls are going to go. Different display sizes may or may not restrict where you can install some of these bars. We have people that call and they put in 120-inch displays that really leaves little to no room sometimes above the display to mount some of these cameras. So it really starts with the display and where the focal point of the video streaming is coming from. And then from there, we can design around that. Acoustics and lighting also make a lot of a difference. Obviously, if you've got issues with sound, you're going to want to make sure that we've got different types of microphones or speakers in different places. A lot of these devices carry some sort of acoustic fencing or acoustic shield, to block any reverberation if you have microphones and speakers relatively close to each other. So that would obviously be something to keep in mind. Lighting is also a big deal, not just because you don't want the cameras to be blinded, or you don't want the folks on the other side of the call to see the people in the conference space in a odd way, or maybe the lighting is kind of causing them to come through a little distorted. But also, if you are going to focus on ceiling mounted items, a lot of those lights are going to take up a lot of the area already. So that's really going to factor the different types of installation options that you have. Different room sizes, different hardware, obviously different square footage, all of that is important. These are recommendations. Obviously, these are not something that you have to abide by. Like I mentioned earlier, we have folks that call and they've got rooms that are 40 feet deep, but the tables are up against the wall and they only have 4 people that can fit at a table. So if you're going just on square footage, this makes some sense. But at the same time, if you've got a huddle space in a large room, you may want to just accommodate how close you are to the display, how far you need sound to travel and mic pickup to pick up for the folks around the table. And then from there, just adequately fit those rooms based on the recommendations that we could put together for you. Some other extra costs to consider, like we spoke about earlier, licensing subscriptions for these certified devices are a must. They're necessary. So you'll need different types of subscriptions, which cover different annual or monthly costs. So you'll want to build that into your quotes. Existing infrastructure and networking, that is also important. You're adding sometimes more devices to a network that might already be at its limit. So we may have to consider or look into adjusting network parameters. Obviously, we offer networking solutions and hardware for this. And we do have sometimes partners asking, should I increase my router or add access points? So that's another little factor there when it comes to running new infrastructure cable or trying to just add another device to an already existing network. Overall installation is also important. Some of the meeting boards that we carry are relatively heavy, so you're not going to want to send one person to try to install that. You may need a team of folks. So now you have 3 people on that job as opposed to one, who might just be doing a collaboration bar by itself. So all of that factors into your labor costs. Obviously, you don't want to undersell that. Or cause yourself some issue by having to send people out multiple times. So we'll definitely be able to help with any questions when it comes to installs. And then lastly, I know we touched upon scheduling panels, but you'd be surprised how many people think about this after the fact. These are really nice indicators. They're a nice aesthetic on the wall, especially if you have people that visit the offices of your location or your client's location. It's a really nice way of making sure that people aren't barging into your conference rooms either. So that way there's a nice smooth workflow when it comes to setting meetings, having a nice solid conference, and then making sure that everyone's aware of what times are available outside of the scheduled meetings that are in place.
And for room configurator, so each manufacturer, mainly the main 2 that we're talking about are HP Poly and Yealink. Yealink has a Yealink room designer, and HP Poly has got the space configurator. Both of those, we would encourage you to check them out. They'd give you a good idea of, give you the design of layout of your room, how many people, where you'd want to position the equipment, the displays, things like that. But we would also definitely encourage you to give us a call. Let us know what you're looking for. We can go over the equipment, setup, install, where things will be placed, where things need to go, that kind of thing. One thing that I did forget to mention about the meeting boards that I meant to mention earlier is content sharing. A lot of people like to do content sharing from their laptop or from anyone who comes into the room, or let's say you're not even having a meeting and you just wanted to go into the conference room and throw up a spreadsheet on the display that you have connected to the meeting board. You can easily do that with all of these meeting bars. Again, typically it's going to be a USB-C connection from the touch panel to a computer. You can also content share via AirPlay, Miracast, and things like that. So that adds a nice little feature, whether if you're having a meeting and need to content share, or if you just wanted to go in the conference room with your team and put up a drawing, a spreadsheet, any type of design, you can easily do that straight with a USB-C cable. But again, like I said, for any of the room configurators, definitely take a look at them. You can definitely play around with them. They give you a good idea of the equipment, where they should be set up, things like that. But we would definitely encourage you to give us a call. We can help you through that, answer any questions you have. And if need be, we can always reach out to the manufacturers and bring them in if needed.
Okay. We did get a couple of questions, so let me just shoot those right at Joe and Vinny. The first one is, some of these deployments can get pretty pricey. Is there a way to test products or set up live demo calls, and what would the cost be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so depending on what room you're walking into or what type of device you're walking into, we may have some demo equipment in-house. We do have a small amount of demo gear that we've got approvals on in our warehouse right now. One thing to keep in mind is we try to limit the demo time frame to a 2 to 3 week basis if we can, just because of the demand. So if you have a client that's interested, but they get back to you and they say, well, I can't start demoing for another 2 weeks, we'll make a note. If we have availability, we'll just either earmark it and send it out within that time frame. That way, when you get it, you've got the device for the proper amount of time. But we're also here to lean on for any questions with the setup at that time, questions with your client site if they're having some issues with any kind of actual functionality. We'd be happy to help there.
And for any of the equipment that we don't have in our demo room, a lot of the times we have it in our lab, so we could always do a live demo for you and or your customer. So we would be able to do a Teams, Zoom, a BYOD meeting from the devices themselves and kind of give you a run through of how they work, what they look like, how they're set up, and all the things like that. So if we don't have that stuff in our demo warehouse, or let's say it's currently out and somebody's using it, so we don't have any to give you, we can always do a live demo of the equipment directly with you and or your customers.
Yeah, the only other thing I wanted to note there is if hypothetically we sent a device out and your team really liked it or your client was really happy with it, and it's going to be something that you may encounter more or standardize on as your option, we could always engage the manufacturer to see if they've got free demos or reduced priced options, because it'll be your in-house device to send or use on different client sites. So we could always talk to them about price reductions and see what we could do to put one in your hands and keep on site.
Awesome. And then we have another question. Is there a design services fee?
As of right now, we do not have one. We try to be as open and available as we can for your team. So that would be the only, I guess, restriction is, if we're trying to set something up for a specific date and the times or schedule isn't matching up, obviously we want to accommodate as best as we can and as fast as we can. But for right now, we don't charge for any of the room design services. I joke when I say this, but I've had people send me full CAD drawings that are 20 pages long, and I've had people write on a napkin and send me an image to my cell phone. So anything or any way that you can give us more information is always appreciated and always encouraged. So don't ever feel like, maybe we don't have enough info. We can always have that conversation to pull out any details and information that might be missing. So just let us know, where we can jump in and help you on that.
Okay, awesome. And on the Android video bars, are there different SKUs for the various platforms?
No, there are not. So there's pretty much just one SKU for each of the bars, because you can choose the platform as you're setting it up. So there's no need for a specific team SKU, a specific Zoom SKU, or a specific BYOD SKU. Because once you get that meeting bar and you set it up, you choose the platform you want it at when you're setting it up for the first time. And like I said, if there was ever a point where you wanted to change that platform, all you would need to do would be factory reset the meeting bar on the touch panel, go through that initial install again, and then pick whatever platform that you wanted to change to.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions that I had on my end through, So Matt, does the Bills' new color scheme look like a Diet Pepsi can, or is it just you? I mean, you're not wrong.
No comment.
We are based in Buffalo. We are all in Buffalo right now, and I am one of the biggest Bills fans. Joe and Vinny can tell you that my office is kind of like a Bills museum.
Bill's Cave.
But yeah, that's hilarious, Matt. So I mean, we won't comment except for yes, you're not wrong. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate everybody joining today. And again, this session is being recorded, so we will go ahead and get that out to you as soon as we can. If you are at all interested in hearing more about the video conferencing equipment or the design services, or if you just need support working with any of your customers or some of the marketing collateral, please reach out to your sales representative, reach out to myself. Again, I'm Jamie Stewart, or reach out to Joe and Vinny, or really anyone here at 888, and we can help you the best that we can. So thank you so much for joining, and we will see you on the next one.